friends. This is the Connected Approach podcast, the world's number one podcast for connected leaders. I'm Chris Curtin.
Hi, I'm Amanda White. Welcome to your warm embrace. How you doing today, Chris?
Doing well. How are you, Amanda?
Great. Really good. So we got a lot of things going on. It's a busy time. And you're right in the middle of quite a few things. So I think we're gonna just dive into some of the activities that are going on and maybe lessons learned from that. How does that sound?
Yeah, it sounds good. And it sounds appropriate for today, given the noises and sounds that I'm hearing that hopefully aren't being picked up on the recording, but just
Yeah.
the sounds of work occurring
Yes.
here where I am.
Progress, the sounds of progress.
That's right, the sounds of progress. So that sounds like a great place to start.
So maybe share a little bit, like what is going on and a very, very few weeks, but probably what seems like a year packed into 2 weeks, maybe, or what's happening?
Yeah, thanks. I announced with all of our friends on LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago that we've endeavored to purchase a leadership center in Farmington, Connecticut. And we're in the process of getting that ready to be open probably by the time that this podcast hits the airways midway through the summer. And it's very exciting and exhilarating and
Yeah.
nerve wracking all at the same time. And so that's obviously top of mind, and trying to learn lessons right in the middle of a bunker is, I think, a new challenge because so often you just want to get through the chaos that's above the bunker and then lift your head up and go, okay, all
Yeah.
clear. But
Yeah.
I'm trying
Well,
to learn as we go.
and a lot of times you don't recognize the learning until after. So, we talk a lot about mental fitness and how do you build self awareness and the process that you're going through. I mean, that really is your 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 training, So it's great that you are, and I'm excited to hear what those things are, but that you're learning along the way. And you can do that versus I'm just going to hunker down. And maybe at the end of this, when I can like sit back and enjoy things, like maybe I'll see what all that was about. So it's another right there is growth that you're pausing for a minute this morning to share and to recognize what those are. So share with us.
Well, before I do, I did want to thank you for that, because these conversations we have are real and live. They're not planned. It's not like you told me
Yeah.
beforehand, I'm going to share this with you. And then I'm saying, oh, I'll be surprised. But thank you for saying that, because that is something I'm trying to do. And to,
Hmm.
is to learn and grow and settle in the
In the
middle
moment.
of the cave. Yeah, in
Yeah.
the moment. And that is not natural. Well, I don't know.
Yes.
Maybe it's natural for others. It's certainly not natural for me.
No, it's
What,
not.
and and so to even hear your recognition that that's an element of personal growth is really helpful.
Yeah.
Um,
It is part of one of the things is like catch it. As soon as you go into something that feels like a negative emotion, like where there's like frustration or irritation or fatigue or, whatever, the skill is to catch it in the moment and to say, okay, I'm not sure what it is right now, but there is something in this. And let me just like put my antennas on overdrive to be like, what's the learning? It might not be that very moment, but maybe the next day versus like 4 or 5 months from now.
yeah, well
So catching
said.
it.
Well said. Yeah. I appreciate that about catching it because in thinking about this whole venture, one of the things I'm trying to keep in the front of my mind or on the
Yeah.
top of my mind, but really in front of me is how I want to be through this process,
Right.
both internally with myself, being an absolute basket case and worrying about absolutely every single check that I'm writing to,
Yeah.
to fill up the dumpster outside or to pay the painter or whatever the vendor is, or to just put my nose to the grindstone on trying to manage the whole world of what's
Right.
ahead for us. Um, and, and, and just trying to be um, cognizant of how I'm acting and reacting because I want to be. We've talked a little bit about pride. I know pride can be a dangerous
Yeah.
thing, but I want to be pleased with how I'm receiving and reacting to all of this stimulation.
Right. Right.
and
Well, it goes back to a couple things that come to mind. The Viktor Frankl quote, between stimulus and response, there is a choice, right?
right.
And so this is a practice just like going to the gym every day, right? And I'm thinking back on a previous episode where you shared about a medical procedure that you had to go through and the the different choices that you made through that. I just I think about that as conditioning for what you're going through now. Like you went through that and you were very, even under all the distress that you were in the moment, every interaction you were choosing to show up in a certain way. And it's
Mm,
like that was almost like the training, so to speak, for this. I don't know. That just was what came up for me. So I wanted to make that connection there, but it is all about choosing. You have to catch it first, but choosing how you want to be in every moment. And then that just starts to like condition you to, that's just who you become.
mm. Oh, that's wow. That's really sage of you. But it is very sage of you. And I really appreciate you reflecting that back to me and sharing and also linking the experience from a few months ago, which once again is still my favorite experience of the year where as they're well, I know that we cut out for a minute. One of my favorite parts of that learning event in the hospital was that I was trying to sell the people that were helping me with my elevator pitch about our business. So they haven't bought yet. I wonder why.
Yeah.
I, I am so grateful for you bringing this up, Amanda, and linking these things. Today's my late father's birthday,
Mm,
and my siblings and I and my family and I have been reflecting on his legacy and what he meant to all of us, and
yeah.
so much of that of who he was how I was what I was trying to reflect and I was trying to behave during that hospitalization event and also
Yeah.
through this event because we've talked about this before. It's sometimes it's fun, right? To
Yeah.
press the panic button and run around the room and
Yeah.
dive into
You can't believe what these guys are doing.
whatever it might be, or just the stress you're under.
Yeah.
And it's so important to just be able to focus on really what's most productive,
Right.
and that is the way that you can see the most pertinent issues coming at you or the
Yeah.
pertinent issues coming at me. So
Yeah.
I
Is
appreciate that.
there is there anything in particular that really stands out to you, as a kind of one of those situations, a learning, example?
Here.
Yeah. Yeah. Like in the last, bit of time where you've been in the bunker.
Yeah, this might not be like a particular one instance, but this, in fact, this very interaction is one of the best examples in a catalog. And that is that we're not stopping making the forward progress we want to make on the things that really matter,
Yeah.
meaning the business, meaning
Yeah.
this coaching that we give each other and that we share with our audience on our podcast.
Yeah.
The goal of the podcast is to share with our audience, with those who will be listening, what it's like to engage with Amanda White, what it's like to engage with Chris Curtin. And it's not a pure coaching session,
Right.
but that is the concept. And there have been times during the building process for the Leadership Center where we have said, we can't meet this week
Right.
for a podcast. And yet, for the last 3 weeks, we've really said, we're going to do it. We're just going
Right.
to keep putting those bricks in the road and keep the forward progress. And the recognition that this is our mission, the podcast, our
Yeah.
executive coaching, our leadership development trainings, our HR consultancy with our clients, that's not going to pass. The paint, the dumpster,
Yeah.
the replacing of the carpet, the new floor that's going down, those things are going to pass. And if I was exclusively distracted by those things for whatever reason, and there's good reason to be,
Mhm.
well, I'm not sure I like that crease in the floor, or I'm not sure that that paint sits right on whatever. I could
Yeah.
become right the ultimate project manager. That's not the mission of our team, and it's also not what we're doing this for. Those things are all in furtherance of the business that we're
Right.
driving together, and it really is quite valuable to continue, even if it's not a full day, but to
Yeah.
continue our mission forward every day as if it is a regular day.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
that's what I
yeah,
do.
there's so many things come up when you have just been sharing that. First of all, you started off by saying what matters most, right? So we always talk about you first have to establish that really strong anchor of what's most important to you. We call it North Star, I call it, the anchor in, or, whatever, but it's really knowing what matters most. And that's key in our coaching with people first, because there will be so many distractions, so many things, exterior things that are going to try and knock you off of that mission. And I'm just thinking like how many times we've encountered that. Either we've been that way, like in previous, like, as we've been learning this, or just, working with clients where it's like, oh, I have to cancel. Like, so and so set up a meeting. I have to cancel because, and it's kind of like, again, like pushing outwards. It's putting it on other people, but we have the choice, right? We have the choice most of the time. I mean, there's some things that it's like, okay, a review was put on, you got to change it. But most of the time, we have the power, right? We have the ability to make a choice to say, no, I've committed to this. And it might be something in regards to like exercise, I've committed to my health and I'm going to stay committed to that and stay the course to the mission, that has been set forth. So, that again is all training. How do you say, hey, I could easily say we're just under construction for like the next, 60 days and like no getting together and no like doing this podcast. But it's these moments that you stay committed, and it actually, I think, helps put you forward even more because this conversation has been such that you're like, oh, yeah, there is learning in this.
Yeah.
Okay. It gives you that little boost of dopamine, to like kind of carry you through a bit more. But again, like stay the course of knowing what matters most and be really aware of what are the things that you're allowing, you know, to knock you off of that.
Mm, well said. Well said. Well, thank you for this conversation today.
It's time for
And
you to now get back, right? But you know what
it,
I mean? It doesn't take long. It just takes
mm,
maybe a 10-15 minute conversation to like, whew, okay, reflect a bit, to do some self-reflection, and then that gives you that much more to go forward. So yeah, it's
exactly.
been great talking this morning. Thanks for getting together and taking the time.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And as for our listeners, we'll see you next time, and lead well, my friends.
Stay true to you. Have a good one. Bye bye.